All right, welcome everybody to the Courage to Teach YouTube channel here at Rekla Learning. My name is Vanessa, and we are going to be digging into a new theme for the next week or so. It is going to be about play-based learning in action, hands-on learning across all grades and subjects, because play-based learning is adaptable to everyone and every topic. So we're really going to dig in there. Our presentation will explore how innovative teaching methods transform education, fostering environments where students truly thrive. We're going to focus on three main areas: the hands-on experience, engaging students across all grade levels. And you'll see, I'll share some examples. You'll see how even the older grades can enjoy play-based learning. And then we'll have some interactive environments, empowering educators to implement innovative methods that prioritize engagement and curiosity. And then we will focus on purposeful play, creating meaningful learning spaces where students flourish by embracing the courage to teach differently. So too often we hear play-based learning is just a preschool activity when the children are young, 2, 3, 4, when they're stacking blocks or they're painting with their fingers. But play is actually the foundation of curiosity. In Finnish education, it is not just a foundation in the early years, but it is used as a teaching strategy for all grades. At every grade level, students need opportunities to explore and have active learning to develop real competencies. So here's the challenge. As students get older, play often disappears, right? In the early years, it's easy to think of ways to play with our students, right? We have blocks, we have role playing, we have hands-on exploration, dress up, coloring, all those kinds of things, exploring the nature and the environment that we're in. When we get into upper primary, lessons start to shift in a traditional classroom towards worksheets, more rote memorization, and we begin to really implement standardized approaches. This is in a traditional classroom. In a Finnish classroom, it's not that way at all. The play continues even in the upper primary all the way through the top grades in Comprehensive 9. So in secondary traditional schools, students are facing endless exams and lots of lectures. It's very passive learning for the students. They come to school, sit in a desk, listen to a lecture, fill out papers, answer exams, and hopefully pass. Pasi Sahlberg, our Finnish expert, wrote a book, Finnish Lessons 3.0, and it's a really great book. If you haven't read it, it really gives you a foundation for Finnish education. But he says when play disappears, so does curiosity. We must protect both if we want students who think critically and engage deeply with learning. So now let's be clear. Play-based learning does not mean chaos, right? When we talk about play in a classroom, we're not talking about a teacher sitting at her desk and the children are kind of as a free-for-all running around the classroom playing with whatever happens to be there. It means structuring the lesson in such a way that the students can explore, experiment, and express understanding through doing, not writing. As children grow, play changes. So yes, in the early years, it's easy to set out blocks, to do math with blocks, to do science with experiments in those younger ages with hands-on tactile stuff, learning to write in shaving cream, those kinds of things. The young learners, it's easy to see that as role play. For older learners, hands-on learning or play-based learning becomes more projects, simulations, debates, active, out of the desk, active, engaging with the material. The principle stays the same. no matter what grade level you're at, learning is deeper when students are active, not passive. All right, so let me share with you some examples of what play-based learning will look like in a classroom. I'm going to choose 4 different subjects so you can see a variety of ways to implement play. Play in math, easy, right? Fraction card games where students match equivalent fractions using visual pizza slice cards, building conceptual understanding through hands-on manipulation with the number blocks, or having peer collaboration. Measuring scavenger hunts, right? In the early grades 1 to 3, 4, we're still learning about measurement. So teams can explore the classroom and school grounds, collecting measurements and comparing units. This is it's the same concept. We're still measuring, but we're doing it in an active way. Instead of sitting at a desk, looking at a piece of paper with a ruler, but just looking at it and seeing the image and measuring on the paper, we're getting up, we're engaging, we're in small groups, maybe even making it a game and seeing who can find the longest stick in the yard, who can find the smallest item, whatever. So engaging in a game or playful way as opposed to a piece of paper and a ruler. And then the third one is the math escape room puzzles. These are a lot of fun. I've done these in classes. I love doing escape rooms in the school because kids really enjoy the puzzles. And when they first start learning about escape rooms, it's kind of hard because it does take a lot of critical thinking and reasoning. But once they kind of get into the groove of what an escape room is like, they really excel and learn a lot. So sequential problem solving challenges that require, in the older groups, right, algebraic thinking, logical reasoning. You can keep upping the strength of the math concepts, but you can use the same idea of an escape room. Lots of fun. Science is also another fairly easy way to create hands-on learning because a lot of science is experiments. But outside of experiments, we can also use play-based learning. For example, in an ecosystem, you can do a role play where students embody different species within a food web, right? And maybe they have predators chasing the prey and how that relationship works, and the energy transfer through interactive scenarios. So that's a little bit different than a science experiment, yet we're still using science concepts. Plant models from recycled materials. So constructing three-dimensional plant structures instead of on a piece of paper, right? Drawing a plant with the stem and the leaves and the flower or the tree, whatever it is. Actually using three-dimensional structures from everyday materials to understand photosynthesis or cellular processes, DNA, right? All of those different things, botany, all of that can easily be created in models. And then as a play-based activity and Finnish education, we want it to be small group, collaborative work, right? Not everybody has to have their own materials. They can work in groups. Another suggestion is a solar cooker. This is an engineering project that can take quite a bit of time. If you start from the very foundations of engineering and cooking and the sun and solar energy and moving all the way into developing an actual solar cooker. And this would be obviously for the secondary students, but it's again applying physics principles while addressing real world sustainability challenges. So this is play-based. It's not a science experiment, but it's still science. And we're really creating an environment of excitement and creativity and enjoyment for the students. Okay, let's move to an example in English language arts. So reading and English can easily come alive through play. for example, the story role play with puppets. And this can be, again, from the very foundations where they read the story, they learn about the characters, they act out the characters, then they create characters with puppets, and then they write a script. So this can encompass so many aspects of literature, and students can have a voice in all of it, and they can really play through all of it and create their own scripts and characters. Story cubes with writing prompts. This is a lot of fun. I don't know if you are familiar with story cubes, but I have used story cubes with my students from the time they were 3 and 4. So you can do stories when they are little, all the way up to when they are in 9th, 10th, 11th grade, because it's still fun. You can adjust the images on the cube to be age appropriate. So it's a dice game where they roll the dice, and then a variety of images are on the top. And then the students can take turns choosing a dice and adding their dice to the story, their image aspect to the story, or one student can work individually and do independent play and create their own story. So there's a lot of varieties in story cubes, but it can easily be a collaborative storytelling across all grade levels. Very easy to adapt. Next one, novel debates and short plays. So students here embody literary characters to explore themes, motivations, conflicts through performance and structured academic discourse. So again, this is for the older students. They can really delve into the character and have some deep critical thinking about the character, what they thought, why they did what they did, how they might act differently if they were the character. These activities transform passive reading and literature-based activities or lessons into active interpretation, helping students connect with literature on an emotional and an intellectual level. Okay, the next area I wanted to show play-based learning is in art. So art education through play integrates creativity with academic learning. It allows students to express understanding through visual and tactile experiences. And I have 3 suggestions here. So a collaborative mural. When I did our summer program at the school, we started the very first week of summer club, we started adding images according to our theme on the mural. And then each week throughout the summer, we added more images. By the end of the summer, we had an entire mural. All the kids had put their parts and their little handprints and their whatever they had created on the mural, and the parents could see the whole summer laid out for them. So this is a really great way to engage all the students collaboratively and show learning progress. Sculptures for geometry. So one of the other important foundations in Finnish education is not only play-based, but subject across, right? So we want cross-subject learning. So art isn't just art. Math isn't just math, right? So we want to combine the two. And one way of doing that is through sculpting, 3-dimensional constructions that make abstract mathematical concepts tangible. So this can be as simple as a square in kindergarten, all the way up to some major geometry in 10th, 11th grade. So very, very practical way to help students visualize spatial relationships and geometric principles. The third one is posters. Posters are a great way to demonstrate learning. You can use it as a reflection. So in art, you can connect it with science using visual communication projects that combine artistic design with scientific accuracy, developing both creative and analytic thinking skills. All right, our last subject, I wanted to share some of the ideas of how to make play-based learning a reality. This last one is in social studies. So creating a living timeline of historic events Having students choose one of the characters on the timeline that you're studying, and then they have to line themselves up according to their time in history, right? Just simple things. It doesn't have to be big and complicated, but just actively allowing the student to not just see what they're learning, but feel it, move around in it, really engage in what they're learning. The second one is this would be for older kids, but model a United Nations simulation. This was done in one of the summer programs that my children attended, and it was a serious event. The kids were so involved in this United Nations simulation. Really, they learned more about the government and how it works in that one short summer than they did in all their years of government in school. So complex diplomatic role-playing exercises that develop research skills, public speaking confidence, and understanding global perspectives and international relationships. And then the third one in social studies we can easily do is a debate, right? A courtroom trial where they reenact a particular situation that happened in history. Students can assume the role of judges, attorneys, witnesses, the actual main character, standing up for themselves and trying to be a voice for history, to explore legal processes, constitutional principles, historic justice issues through structured debate. So you can see how we can do social studies in grade 1 and 2 in play-based learning, as well as grades 9, 10, 11, 12 in play-based learning. So my encouragement to you is to try something play-based this week in your lesson plans. Look back over your lessons for this week and try to find a place where you can, instead of doing the worksheet for that particular lesson, restructure it so that it becomes an engaging, active learning moment. Instead of writing, their bodies, their minds are doing something with each other in a collaborative way. So my recommendations or my suggestions to get you started are to turn a math practice into a card game, right? So if you have young students, grades 1 and 2, 3, they're learning multiplication tables or addition facts, subtraction facts, instead of just having them fill out a worksheet and memorize those facts, turn it into a card game where they're in small groups and they're playing. There's a card game called War where they have to figure out which number is bigger. There's lots of different ways to do that and really engage them. Also, you could do, if you're doing a literature lesson this week, act out a page in the story. Instead of having them read a section and then do comprehension questions, right? Let's read the section, but then everybody choose a character and reenact the story. And it doesn't have to be a long production, but just have them practice it, see it, feel it, really engage with the characters in the story. And then the third one I would recommend this week is to model science with simple objects. Use just classroom materials to represent abstract concepts, making invisible processes visible and memorable through hands-on manipulation. So why does this matter, right? Play has 4 main learning outcomes. One is motivation. It fosters an intrinsic drive to explore and engage deeply with learning experiences that feel meaningful and enjoyable. I don't think I've ever been in a class where students were doing play-based learning that they weren't completely engaged and absorbed in what they were doing. Second, play-based learning produces agency, right? It cultivates student ownership. The student is no longer passive, sitting in the desk, waiting for the teacher to tell them something. It becomes an active learning moment where the student's ownership, they take ownership over learning processes, developing independence and confidence in creative problem solving. Play-based learning also develops the learning outcome for teamwork, because we're building collaboration in small groups and large groups, so that the students can learn to work together. They build skills, essential skills for academic and professional success through shared challenges and achievements. And the fourth thing that play-based learning will help to create is creativity. It encourages innovation and flexible thinking, preparing students for an uncertain future, which is requiring adaptive problem solving, right? Our 21st century skills. When schools protect play, they protect joy. So joyful learners become lifelong learners who approach challenges with curiosity rather than anxiety. So let's get to the part where I want to engage with you. I love it when I have my audience submitting questions or comments about the video or the topic. So I would encourage you to reflect on the bridge between inspiration and implementation. Consider your current teaching practice and identify opportunities for meaningful change. Here's your question. What's one subject area where you could replace a traditional worksheet this week or a lecture with a play-based learning experience? Think about your students' interests, because every class is different. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer here. Think about your available materials. Not every classroom has resources. And your learning outcomes. You want to think about those skills. What is it that you want your kids to be learning from this particular lesson? The best play-based activities align naturally with your existing curriculum goals while increasing student engagement and retention. Remember, you don't need perfect conditions or extensive resources to begin. Start with what you have, observe what works, and build from there. So my hope is that play isn't just for preschool. It grows with our students, becoming hands-on, creative, and real at every grade in every subject. Hopefully, if you are in a traditional classroom setting now, where you are teacher-centered instructions with passive student participation, you can make a few small steps this week towards a transformative classroom where it's more student-centered learning with active engagement and exploration. If you're already in a transformative classroom, then I hope a few small steps this week will move you into an exceptional classroom where play-based experiences have developed and the whole child is learning and meeting academic standards. Your journey toward play-based learning transforms not just your classroom, but your students' relationship with learning itself. Each small step builds toward exceptional educational experiences that prepare students for success. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly episodes and continue exploring innovative teaching strategies that make learning joyful, meaningful, and effective for every student. Thanks for listening. I hope to see you next week for part 2 of play-based learning. Have a great week.